Welcome to Ask the Expert with noted radio host Steve Sleeper. Each week, Steve interviews entrepreneurs and professionals and shares their intriguing stories of success and service. Now, here's radio veteran Steve Sleeper.
And our guest today on Ask the Expert is Jeffrey Feldman. He's an attorney with Feldman, Kleidman, Coffey, Sape, and Regenbaum. Jeff, good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
Hey, tell me a little bit about your firm and yourself.
Our firm this year celebrated its 30th anniversary or 30th birthday. Paul Kleidman and I started the firm in February of 1986. Our mission was really twofold. One was obviously to provide quality representation to those that were in need of a lawyer. Secondly, it was our intent to be able to stay with a client from the beginning of the case to the end. In lots of larger firms, clients get shifted around from an associate to another associate to a junior partner and a senior partner. And the vision that Paul and I had was that whoever met the client first would try to stick with the case to the extent humanly possible from beginning to end. That's been a good measure of our success over the years.
Okay, and one... Oh, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. As far as myself is concerned, I have a bachelor's degree in chemistry. I went to Syracuse University Law School, and after completing law school, I clerked for Judge Williams in a trial-level court in my home county of Sullivan County. And I worked for Judge Williams for 2.5 years, and then I embarked on my career as a trial lawyer, working first with a firm in Poughkeepsie that did mostly plaintiff's personal injury work and the defense of medical malpractice cases. And then in 1986, Paul and I both left that firm to start our own.
Okay, and one thing that I neglected to mention is that you're north of New York City in Fishkill, New York, and the reason I interrupted you, which I didn't mean to do, but I was excited to ask you one question, and we're going to focus mostly on personal injury this morning, but you also do professional liability defense. Can you tell me just a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, we have a unique kind of a practice in the sense that we represent people on both sides of the fence, so to speak. So we represent people who are injured through the negligence of another, provided that they're not going to be suing a healthcare professional. So we represent people who are injured in motor vehicle accidents from faulty products. We represent people in legal malpractice cases. In other words, we would sue another lawyer for legal malpractice. The other side of our practice, the defense side, we represent healthcare professionals, hospitals, physicians, large medical practices. When they get sued for medical malpractice, we also represent healthcare professionals with reference to licensure issues. So instead of being on one side of the fence exclusively, we tend to see things on both sides of the fence, and I think that makes us better as both plaintiffs' lawyers and defense lawyers.
Okay, yeah, thanks. It was very interesting stuff. Now, let's bring it back to personal injury and talk about that. Let's say I've been in an accident. Why do I need an attorney?
Well, I guess you need a lawyer for the same reasons that you would go to any professional under any professional type circumstance. So, for example, you would go to an accountant as far as preparing your taxes. You go to a physician when you have a health care need. Most, if not all, lay people would not be well versed enough to be able to represent themselves in a personal injury action. Because they've never done it before. Mm-hmm. There's lots of traps for the unwary, and there's an old adage that a person who represents themselves has a fool for, or a lawyer that represents themselves has a fool for a client. I would never, do legal work on my own behalf because you need someone who's objective and can look at things in a sort of a dispassionate way. So by the same token, somebody who's injured in an accident and thinks that their life is coming to an end and everything's upside down, they need someone who can look at things for them objectively, who knows the law with reference to personal injury actions, knows what the traps are for the unwary, knows the time deadlines for filing certain forms so that their rights are not lost or compromised. There's a variety of different things that can happen to someone by either representing themselves or by having a lawyer do the work that doesn't do this every day.
And this brings me to my next question, because you somewhat alluded to it. If I've been in an accident, chances are I'm not thinking clearly. What should I know in advance?
The major thing to do, I think, are twofold. The first is that your health and your family are the most important, and those should be the predominant or sole focus of the person who was injured or that was involved in an accident. And the second part of that two-pronged test is the same, and that is that in order for you as the injured party to focus exclusively on yourself, your well-being, your recuperation, as well as your family and your family's needs, you need to have somebody else taking care of all of the aspects of the personal injury action so that you know that that's being taken care of and you don't have to worry about it.
Well, won't the insurance company take care of me?
No, not really. The insurance company is there to take care of the insurance company. So insurance companies are businesses. They're for-profit businesses, and their goal, as any business is to be as economic or efficient from a business model point of view. That means that they're looking to pay as little as possible and maybe not what would be a fair and just compensation. So they have their lawyers that are looking out for their best interest, and their lawyers are aware of what all of the potential issues are and the ways to defend the case. And so by the same token, so that the injured party is properly prepared and properly represented, they should have a lawyer who is there to advocate on their behalf and to fight for them.
Well, then what should I look for in a personal injury lawyer, Jeff?
There are a few things to look for in a personal injury lawyer. In much the same way that when you're ill, you want to go to the right specialist who sees the kinds of things that you have or need on a daily basis, the same is true as far as personal injury work is concerned. So, for example, if you had a problem with your toe, you're not going to go to a heart doctor. You're going to go to either somebody who deals with feet or, to an orthopedist or a podiatrist. There are many different areas of law, and lawyers tend to focus in particular areas. So, for example, you may have a lawyer who's done your will. You may have a lawyer who's done a real estate closing for you. Those people tend to do those things every day. What you want to find is someone who does personal injury work every day, because that lawyer is going to be aware of the specific time deadlines that pertain to personal injury action, the specific forms that need to be filed, the appropriate types of things that need to be done as quickly and efficiently as possible regarding a proper and timely investigation, and that's a crucial factor. Mm-hmm. So you want to find someone who goes to court all the time and tries cases. Because if the insurance company is not going to play fair and they're not going to pay you a fair value for your money, you want to know that the same lawyer you met with initially is going to be the lawyer who goes to court all the time to try your case. There are a lot of decisions that need to be made in the context of any type of litigation or any type of a legal relationship, and the comfort and the relationship that you develop with the lawyer that you consult with initially is going to help you at the end. Because at the end, when you have to make a decision as to whether to accept a settlement or not, and the lawyer is giving you advice as to whether the amount of money that's on the table is low, fair, or high, it's based upon the depth of the relationship that you have made or established with the lawyer, and that comes from time. So you want to be dealing with the same person or the same firm through that whole process. We talk about it as being the same person being with you every step of the way.
I see. Okay, what's the cost for this then?
Well, the cost in New York is to the client nothing, in the sense that the lawyer will lay out the money for the investigation, for obtaining the medical records, for depositions, for expert expenses, and things like that. And then the ultimate fee currently in New York is 1/3 of the gross amount of the recovery. So what would happen, for example, just using made-up numbers, let's say that a case is worth $10,000, and there's $1,000 of disbursements that are made by the lawyer over the time of the file. So the lawyer would get 1/3 of the $10,000, and then in addition to that, the $1,000 would be repaid by the lawyer. The other option is the client can pay for the expenses as you go along, but in my 35, 36 years of doing this, no clients ever opted for that, and that's quite understandable. In the event that there's no recovery, then the client owes nothing.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay. Now, the client possibly, depending upon the specific situation, may be responsible for certain court costs if the case goes to a verdict and a judgment is filed, and we tend to, if we happen to lose, that's a remote type of a situation, but ethically we're always responsible for advising the client of that.
Okay, now shifting gears just a little bit. When I think of personal injury, I think of car or work accidents. So focusing a little bit on work accidents, I think that's covered by workers' comp. Can you tell me what that is?
Sure. In New York, if you're involved in an accident or injured in the context of your employment, then your medical expenses and your lost earnings are paid through workers' compensation. You're not able to sue your employer under New York law. So the workers' compensation benefits that you get are what are given to you, and it's not a gift, in exchange for you having no right to sue your employer. So there are many circumstances when someone is involved in an incident or accident and they're injured in the course of their employment, and there's no one to sue because the negligent party or the only party that's involved is your employer. So, for example, if you're on a construction job and the ladder that your employer gave you breaks or is faulty in some way, you're not allowed to sue your employer. However, depending upon the type of construction job, there may be a general contractor, there may be other subcontractors. If it's a commercial project, there's a landowner. So there are other ways that you may be able to sue other parties that either by law or for other reasons, because of their negligent conduct, they're responsible for the happening of your accident. So even though you're injured in the context of a work-related injury, you still need to consult with someone to make sure that whether or not you do or don't have the type of situation where you can sue for your injuries. In some cases, you're out of luck and you can't sue anyone and you're stuck with your workers' compensation benefits, but there are many other situations where, based upon our knowledge of the law and the factual situations, there is a way to sue somebody and you're able to get fuller compensation than you would be able to get if you were limited to the workers' compensation system.
I know this next question is a little bit like asking how long is a piece of string, but is there anything else we should know?
Well, you want to, obviously you want to check on the qualifications or credentials of the lawyer. How long have they been in business? How many cases do they try a year? What's the nature of their practice? But more, other than that, you're really the focus of the client once they establish a relationship with somebody who they feel comfortable with is more on their own well-being and making sure that they do whatever they need to do to recover as fully as they can from their injuries.
And your website has a lot of great information on the firm. It's fkcsr-law.com. Did I get that right?
Correct.
Okay. So fkcsr-law.com. And how else can we reach you, Jeff?
The other way is just by calling, which is our phone number is 845-897-5199. Our whole concept here is that, anybody who calls with reference to a potential legal issue always speaks with a lawyer. They're not speaking with support staff. And hopefully we're able to work through the situation so the lawyer they speak to or meet with initially is the same lawyer that handles their case from beginning to end.
Our guest today on Ask the Expert has been Jeffrey Feldman. He's co-founder and partner in Feldman, Kleidman, Coffee, Sape, and Regenbaum. Hey, Jeff, thanks for being on Ask the Expert today.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Ask the Expert with Steve Sleeper. Join us next time as entrepreneurs and professionals share their intriguing stories of success and service.